Imagine a book so controversial that it was once considered sacred by early Christians, but ultimately banned from the Bible. A book that speaks of fallen angels, forbidden knowledge, and the coming of the Messiah, prophecies that expand upon the very foundations of Scripture. This is the Book of Enoch, an ancient text that is full of mystery, intrigue, and revelations that could shake the very core of your faith. Why was this book excluded from the Bible? And why does its content challenge so many of our traditional beliefs about angels, divine order, and the end of days? These are the questions we will explore in this video. The Book of Enoch contains incredible stories of angels who descended to earth, taught humanity forbidden wisdom, and brought about a catastrophic corruption of the world. Stories that aren't found in the canonical Bible, but are referred to in passages like Jude 1 verse 14-15. This book was influential enough in early Christianity to be cited by figures like the Apostle Jude, yet somehow it was rejected by church leaders. Its teachings about the Nephilim, the fallen watchers, and a Messiah who judges the wicked are compelling and unsettling. For some, the content of the Book of Enoch is too radical, too divergent from the official teachings, and this led to its removal from the canon. But what if the exclusion of the Book of Enoch is a mistake? What if the hidden knowledge it contains has profound implications for our understanding of the Bible and God's plan for the world? Could the very answers we seek about the supernatural world, the end times, and the mysteries of faith be locked away in a book that was deemed too controversial to include? Let's dive into the Book of Enoch, its banishment, and its content that might just shake your faith to the core. The Book of Enoch, also known as 1 Enoch, is one of the most fascinating and controversial ancient texts that almost became part of the Bible. To understand why it was ultimately excluded, it's important to first explore its origins and how it was viewed by early Jewish and Christian communities. The book itself is believed to have been written between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE, during a time when Jewish thought was highly diverse. It contains a variety of sections, including apocalyptic visions, angelic encounters, and prophecies regarding the future of Israel and the coming of a Messiah. The text is attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, who, according to Genesis 5 verse 24, walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Enoch's mysterious disappearance has long intrigued scholars, and the Book of Enoch provides an elaborate account of what might have happened during his life and the visions he received. The Book of Enoch was highly regarded by many early Jewish communities, particularly those of the Second Temple period. It was used in the Jewish Qumran community, the same group that hid the Dead Sea Scrolls, which speaks to its authority in some Jewish circles. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church is one of the few Christian denominations that still considers the Book of Enoch canonical, meaning it remains part of their religious texts, preserved in their ancient translations. Even within early Christianity, there is evidence that the Book of Enoch was well known. The Apostle Jude directly quotes from the Book of Enoch in Jude 1 verse 14-15, stating, "And Enoch also, the 7th from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all." This quote validates that the early Christian community was aware of Enoch's writings and suggests that some of Enoch's prophecies were seen as significant enough to be shared with early believers. However, as Christianity solidified its canon during the 4th and 5th centuries, the Book of Enoch gradually fell out of favor. Early church fathers such as Jerome and Augustine rejected it on theological grounds, citing its apocalyptic nature and the fact that it contained stories of angels and forbidden knowledge that they believed were not in line with the developing Christian doctrine. In fact, Jerome famously criticized the Book of Enoch for its strange and difficult-to-understand angelology, where angels are seen descending to earth, interacting with humans, and teaching them arts and sciences that were considered forbidden. One of the primary reasons for its exclusion, however, was the controversial angelology within the Book of Enoch. The book portrays a group of angels, known as the Watchers, who descend to earth and take human wives, giving rise to the Nephilim giants who bring chaos and corruption to the world. This narrative deeply expands upon the brief mention of these events in Genesis 6 verse 1-4, and introduces themes of divine rebellion and cosmic struggle that the early church deemed unsettling. These stories raised theological concerns about the relationship between angels and humans, and the implications of angels taking a direct role in shaping humanity. Despite being excluded from the canonical Bible, the Book of Enoch's influence is undeniable. Its themes of angelic rebellion, judgment, and the coming of a righteous king, Messiah, echo throughout other biblical texts, both in the Old and New Testaments. Many of the apocalyptic visions in the Book of Revelation reflect concepts and imagery that are present in Enoch's prophecies. For instance, the Son of Man figure in Enoch 46 is strikingly similar to the figure of the Messiah described in the Gospels and in the Book of Revelation. Additionally, the idea of a final judgment and a kingdom of righteousness echoes throughout Christian eschatology. While the Book of Enoch's full inclusion in the Bible was prevented, its influence can still be seen today in the way we understand the nature of angels, prophecy, and the end of times. Its exclusion begs the question, why was this book rejected when it clearly resonated with early Jewish and Christian believers? Was it too radical, or did it contain knowledge that was considered too powerful or dangerous for the church to accept? The exclusion of the Book of Enoch from the biblical canon is a topic that raises questions about the early Christian church's decisions and the factors that shaped the books that were deemed inspired by God. To understand why the Book of Enoch was banned, we must examine both the theological concerns and the historical context in which these decisions were made. The process of canonization, the selection of sacred texts deemed authoritative for the Christian faith, was not a simple or immediate one. It evolved over centuries, especially as early Christian leaders sought to establish uniformity in doctrine and avoid divisions caused by conflicting teachings. The councils of Hippo 393 CE and Carthage 397 CE, along with the influence of church fathers like Jerome and Augustine, played a key role in determining the final list of books included in the Bible. While some books, like the Gospel of Matthew and the letters of Paul, were widely accepted, others faced scrutiny, and the Book of Enoch was one of those excluded. One of the main reasons for its exclusion was its angelology, the way it portrayed angels and their role in human history. The Book of Enoch expanded on the brief mention of the Nephilim in Genesis 6 verse 1-4, describing the Watchers, angels who descend to earth and marry human women. These angels impart forbidden knowledge to humanity, teaching them about metallurgy, astrology, and other arcane arts. The offspring of these unions, the Nephilim, were giants who brought chaos and corruption to the world. This narrative was seen as controversial and was at odds with the growing Christian theology, which emphasized the purity and separation of angels from human beings. The Church Fathers, including Jerome, were uncomfortable with the idea of angels interacting so directly with humans, as this blurred the lines between the heavenly and earthly realms. Augustine also criticized the book for its apocalyptic nature, viewing it as speculative and dangerous. They feared that such teachings could lead to confusion or even heresy, particularly because the Book of Enoch attributed knowledge to angels that was traditionally reserved for God alone. By banning the book, early church leaders sought to maintain a clear distinction between the divine and human worlds and avoid theological chaos. Another significant concern was the book's popularity in certain early Christian circles. The Book of Enoch was widely regarded as authoritative by many early Christians, especially in regions like Ethiopia and Alexandria. It was quoted by several early Christian writers, and portions of the text were even referenced in the New Testament itself. Jude 1 verse 14-15 directly quotes from the Book of Enoch, stating, "And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment upon all." This reference alone shows how deeply embedded the Book of Enoch was in early Christian thought. However, as Christianity expanded beyond its Jewish roots and into the Roman Empire, church leaders sought to consolidate and standardize Christian doctrine. The Book of Enoch, with its emphasis on angelic rebellion and supernatural beings, was viewed as potentially divisive. It introduced ideas that could be interpreted in different ways, leading to a variety of interpretations about the nature of angels, demons, and humanity's relationship with the divine. For the church, this theological ambiguity was dangerous, and they feared that the book's inclusion might lead to dangerous sects or heretical movements. The Apocrypha, a collection of ancient books that were once considered for inclusion in the Bible, also included works with similar themes of angels, divine rebellion, and apocalyptic visions. While some of these texts were accepted by various Christian denominations, the Book of Enoch stood apart due to its detailed and complex portrayal of angels interacting with humanity, as well as its lengthy, otherworldly visions. These elements made the Book of Enoch a challenge for the Church to control. By excluding it from the canon, the Church could more effectively manage the theological narrative and keep the focus on the teachings that aligned with the evolving doctrine. Additionally, the Book of Enoch's emphasis on the coming judgment and the arrival of a messianic figure posed challenges to early Christian thought. In Enoch 46 there is a striking description of the Son of Man, a righteous figure who will come to judge the wicked, which parallels the descriptions of Christ in the Gospels. This could be seen as competing with or even overshadowing the Christian understanding of Jesus as the Messiah. The Church likely feared that such competing messianic expectations might confuse believers and detract from the singular importance of Christ's role in salvation. Finally, the mystical and apocalyptic nature of the Book of Enoch set it apart from the other accepted scriptures. Its detailed descriptions of cosmic battles, divine secrets, and heavenly journeys could have been seen as too speculative and esoteric. Early Christian leaders, focusing on the gospel message of salvation, may have found such content distracting and irrelevant to the central mission of the Church. In conclusion, the banning of the Book of Enoch was driven by a combination of theological concerns, a desire for doctrinal unity, and the need to control the message of Christianity. Its portrayal of angels, divine rebellion, and the coming judgment was seen as too radical for the early Church to accept as part of the official canon. However, its exclusion raises important questions about the nature of Scripture, divine revelation, and the mysteries that may still lie hidden within ancient texts. The decision to ban the Book of Enoch left behind a tantalizing glimpse into a deeper understanding of angels, prophecy, and God's plan for the world, a mystery that continues to captivate and challenge the faith of many. The content of the Book of Enoch is nothing short of extraordinary. It contains vivid descriptions of cosmic events, divine mysteries, and profound prophecies that are not found in the canonical Bible. These elements have sparked debate for centuries and continue to challenge traditional understandings of Scripture. From its portrayal of angels and the Nephilim to its apocalyptic visions, the Book of Enoch contains material that could shake the very foundation of one's faith. One of the most controversial aspects of the Book of Enoch is its detailed account of the Watchers, a group of angels who descend to earth and take human wives. This is an expansion on the brief mention of the sons of God and the Nephilim in Genesis 6 verse 1-4. According to the Book of Enoch, these angels, known as the Watchers, impart forbidden knowledge to humanity, teaching them secrets such as the use of metal, astrology, and the art of cosmetics. This angelic interference leads to the birth of the Nephilim, giants who bring corruption and chaos to the world. The narrative of the Watchers and their fall from grace raises profound theological questions. If angels, beings of light and purity, could fall and transgress divine boundaries, what does this say about the nature of creation and the relationship between the heavenly and earthly realms? The idea that angels could impart forbidden knowledge to humanity challenges the traditional Christian understanding of angels as messengers and servants of God, who operate solely within divine will. Instead, the Watchers in Enoch's account are portrayed as rebel angels who defy God's command and change the course of human history. In Enoch 7:10, The book describes how the fallen angels were punished by God for their transgressions. The watchers are bound and cast into the abyss, awaiting judgment. The Book of Enoch presents a vivid and dramatic image of divine retribution that adds layers to the biblical understanding of sin and divine justice. This narrative of divine punishment extends beyond human sin, involving celestial beings and a cosmic struggle that we rarely see depicted in such detail within the canonical Bible. The punishment of the watchers implies that no being, whether human or angel, is exempt from God's authority and judgment, further emphasizing the consequences of rebellion against divine law. The Nephilim, the offspring of the watchers and human women, play a central role in the Book of Enoch. These giants are described as both mighty and destructive, bringing violence and corruption to the earth. In Enoch 7:12, it is said that the Nephilim devoured all the toil of men, a description that paints them as parasitic creatures who wreak havoc on the earth. The presence of the Nephilim raises important questions about the nature of evil in the world. Were these beings an aberration of God's original design? Were they an early form of spiritual warfare, a corruption of God's creation? The existence of these giants challenges the notion of humanity as the pinnacle of God's creation, suggesting that there may be greater forces at work in the spiritual realm than previously understood. The Book of Enoch also contains powerful messianic prophecies that have left an indelible mark on both Jewish and Christian theology. In Enoch 46, the text describes the arrival of a righteous one, a son of man, who will come to bring judgment upon the wicked and establish an eternal kingdom of righteousness. This figure is often compared to the descriptions of the Messiah in the Gospels, particularly in the teachings of Jesus in Matthew 25 verse 31-46, where the Son of Man comes to judge the nations. The Book of Enoch's portrayal of the Messiah as a cosmic judge who brings divine retribution on the wicked is strikingly similar to the revelation of Jesus Christ found in the New Testament. However, the messianic figure in the Book of Enoch is not limited to a future earthly reign. He is also depicted as a celestial figure who stands before God and commands the angels. In Enoch 48:2, it is written, "And the righteous shall be victorious in those days, and the righteous shall be without number." This vision of a divine kingdom established by the Messiah challenges traditional views of salvation and judgment, suggesting a more complex and cosmic role for the Messiah than just a ruler on earth. The prophetic content of the Book of Enoch also includes detailed descriptions of the final judgment, a theme that is echoed throughout Christian eschatology. The final judgment is portrayed as an event where the righteous are separated from the wicked and the corrupt are punished. This prophecy connects with Matthew 25 verse 31-46, where Jesus describes the separation of the sheep and the goats, symbolizing the eternal fate of individuals based on their actions. The Book of Enoch's vivid and graphic depictions of judgment bring a sense of urgency and weight to the concept of divine justice, which is a theme central to both Jewish and Christian teachings. One of the most striking aspects of the Book of Enoch is its portrayal of the heavens and the earth in a deeply spiritual and cosmological context. The book offers detailed descriptions of the heavenly realms, the movements of the stars, and the interaction between angels and the natural world. Enoch 17:18 describes Enoch's journey to the heavens, where he is shown the secrets of creation, the paths of the stars, and the purpose of the universe. These visions paint a picture of a highly structured, orderly cosmos that is governed by divine laws. This celestial imagery, while not directly found in the canonical Bible, invites readers to consider the mysteries of the universe and the divine order behind creation. In conclusion, the Book of Enoch presents a complex and challenging narrative that raises theological questions about the nature of angels, the Nephilim, and the role of the Messiah. Its content challenges traditional biblical views and invites us to explore the hidden mysteries of God's creation. The book's portrayal of forbidden knowledge, divine punishment, and the cosmic battle between good and evil shakes the very foundation of our understanding of Scripture. By expanding on the stories we find in the Bible, the Book of Enoch opens a door to a deeper, more complex understanding of the spiritual world that continues to captivate and challenge believers to this day. The story of the Watchers, as detailed in the Book of Enoch, presents a startlingly different view of the spiritual realm than what is found in the canonical Bible. In Genesis 6 verse 1-4, we are briefly introduced to the sons of God, who took human wives and fathered the Nephilim. The Bible offers little more than this cryptic passage, but the Book of Enoch expands on this event, offering a dramatic and complex narrative that challenges traditional interpretations of angels, their role in the world, and the very nature of sin. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are angels who descend from heaven to earth, drawn by the beauty of human women. In Enoch 6, we learn that a group of 200 angels, led by Azazel, make a pact to descend to earth and teach humanity various forms of forbidden knowledge. The Watchers impart to humans the secrets of metallurgy, cosmetics, astrology, and other arts that were once reserved for the heavenly realm. This knowledge, while advanced, was forbidden because it led humanity away from God's intended plan. It is not just their descent that is seen as problematic. It is the nature of their teaching, which disturbs the divine order. This narrative raises a number of theological questions. For one, why would angels, beings of such purity and power, take such a drastic and rebellious step to defy God's will? Enoch 7, 2-5 paints a vivid picture of the consequences of the Watchers' actions. Their union with human women produces the Nephilim, a race of giants who spread corruption and violence upon the earth. In this expanded narrative, the Nephilim are not just offspring of human and divine beings, but creatures who bring chaos and moral decay. This stands in stark contrast to the traditional biblical view, which leaves the Nephilim as little more than a mysterious reference. The story of the Watchers is a cautionary tale about the abuse of divine power. The Book of Enoch presents the angels as rebellious, not in their nature, but in their actions. Their decision to impart forbidden knowledge to humanity was a clear violation of divine boundaries, and it sets the stage for one of the most profound spiritual conflicts in biblical apocryphal literature. Enoch 10:4-8 recounts how God, enraged by the Watchers' disobedience and the corruption they have wrought on earth, orders their punishment. The angels are bound and cast into the abyss, awaiting the final judgment. Their actions serve as a warning about the dangers of overstepping divine authority and the consequences that follow when celestial beings defy God's will. The Book of Enoch's portrayal of the Watchers raises important theological implications for how we understand the relationship between heaven and earth. In traditional Christian doctrine, angels are seen as servants of God, messengers who do His bidding and protect humanity. The Book of Enoch, however, suggests that angels are not mere servants. They are autonomous beings capable of rebellion, who can choose to disobey God. This alternate portrayal of angels challenges the simplistic view of heavenly beings as flawless and perfect, offering a more complex and nuanced understanding of divine beings. Additionally, the Book of Enoch introduces the idea that knowledge itself can be dangerous when it is not given in accordance with God's plan. The Watchers' teaching of forbidden knowledge, things like astrology and metallurgy, implies that human beings were not meant to possess certain types of wisdom at their current stage of development. It raises the question, if knowledge can lead to spiritual decay and moral corruption, how should we view the pursuit of knowledge in our own world today? Are there boundaries that we too are meant to respect in our quest for understanding? The punishment of the Watchers and their offspring, the Nephilim, presents a cosmic vision of divine justice. The actions of the Watchers do not just corrupt the human race, they disrupt the balance of creation itself. God's response is swift and severe. He sends the archangels to bind the Watchers in chains and cast them into darkness, while the Nephilim are destroyed in the flood. In Enoch 10:9, it says, "And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel, to him ascribe all sin." This echoes the traditional biblical theme of judgment, but with a starkly different focus. God's judgment falls not only on humanity, but on the very heavenly beings who strayed from their divine purpose. The Watcher's story in the Book of Enoch, therefore, does not just provide an alternate interpretation of the events in Genesis. It serves as a reminder that divine rebellion can occur even in the heavenly realms, and that sin is not limited to humans alone. It expands the boundaries of spiritual warfare, suggesting that the cosmic battle between good and evil involves more than just earthly conflict. It is a struggle that spans the heavens and involves beings who were once thought to be beyond reproach. For many Christians, this alternate view of angels challenges the traditional understanding of the heavenly realm. The Watchers and their fall suggest that even the most exalted beings are not immune to the temptation of pride and rebellion. It raises the unsettling possibility that even the angels, those created beings who are often portrayed as pure messengers of God, are capable of defying God's order. This idea does not just shake traditional notions of angels, it also challenges how we view the very nature of divine authority, knowledge, and the moral framework of the universe. In conclusion, the Book of Enoch offers a radically different portrayal of angels' rebellion and the moral consequences of forbidden knowledge. It expands upon the brief mention in Genesis, providing a fuller narrative that not only challenges traditional biblical interpretations, but also invites believers to question the spiritual forces at work in the world. The Watchers' fall and the punishment they face offer a vivid depiction of divine justice, and remind us that spiritual rebellion can have consequences that ripple through both the heavenly and earthly realms. In the modern world, where knowledge is expanding at an unprecedented rate, the questions posed by the Book of Enoch about the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and the role of angels remain profoundly relevant. The text, often regarded as a mere curiosity from the past, provides insights into the dangers of unchecked ambition and the consequences of seeking wisdom that lies beyond human understanding. In today's age of advanced technology, artificial intelligence and bioengineering, the themes from the Book of Enoch about the corrupting influence of knowledge still resonate with modern concerns about the ethical boundaries of human discovery. One of the primary reasons the Book of Enoch continues to capture attention is its exploration of angelic rebellion and the desire for forbidden knowledge. The Watchers, as detailed in the book, sought to impart knowledge to humanity that was not meant for them, knowledge that ultimately led to humanity's corruption and the chaos that followed. Today we find ourselves in a similar position, with scientific advancements pushing the boundaries of what humanity can achieve. From genetic engineering to artificial intelligence, we are constantly discovering new forms of knowledge. However, as we unlock more of the universe's secrets, we are faced with a question that echoes the warnings in the Book of Enoch. How far should we go in the pursuit of knowledge, and what are the ethical limits of such advancements? The scientific hubris depicted in the Book of Enoch mirrors modern debates surrounding technological advancements. Just as the Watchers believed they could impart knowledge that would improve the human condition, so too do many of today's scientists and innovators believe that their discoveries will lead to the betterment of humanity. However, the Book of Enoch warns of the consequences of knowledge that transcends divine boundaries. In Enoch 8:3, it is written that the Watchers taught humanity things that led to sin and death, a sobering reminder that knowledge without wisdom can lead to destruction. As we move forward into an era where humanity has the power to manipulate life itself, we must ask, are we truly prepared for the consequences of what we are learning? The Book of Enoch's story of the Nephilim, the offspring of angels and humans, is also profoundly relevant today. In Enoch's narrative, the Nephilim grow into giants, bringing violence and destruction to the earth. This apocalyptic vision of hybrid beings reflects concerns that the blending of human and non-human elements, whether through genetic modification, artificial intelligence, or other forms of bioengineering, could result in unintended and potentially dangerous consequences. The Nephilim, as depicted in the Book of Enoch, represent the consequences of tampering with divine creation. Today, we are confronted with similar ethical dilemmas regarding genetic manipulation and the potential creation of life forms that were never intended to exist. The story of the Nephilim serves as a reminder of the importance of respecting the natural order and the sanctity of life as it was originally intended. Moreover, the Book of Enoch's cosmic battle between good and evil, depicted through the rebellion of the Watchers and the eventual judgment of both the fallen angels and humanity, speaks directly to the current cultural and spiritual climate. The Book of Enoch presents a world where spiritual warfare is not confined to the heavens but spills over into the human realm. This apocalyptic view of a cosmic struggle between light and darkness can be seen as a reflection of the ongoing battle between good and evil in our own world. As moral and ethical lines become blurred in the modern world, the cosmic narrative of the Book of Enoch serves as a stark reminder that the ultimate battle is not just a political or social one, but a spiritual one. The forces of good, led by the righteous one, will triumph in the end, but the path to victory requires moral discernment and the pursuit of wisdom from God. In Enoch 46, the figure of the Son of Man, a righteous judge who will bring about the final judgment, serves as a central prophetic theme in the Book of Enoch. This messianic figure is portrayed as someone who will come to restore righteousness and deliver judgment to the wicked. The idea of a coming judge who will restore order to the world is a theme that resonates deeply with Christians today, especially those who are concerned with the moral decay of society. The Book of Enoch's prophecy of a future reckoning mirrors the teachings of Jesus in the Gospels, where he is portrayed as the one who will separate the righteous from the unrighteous at the end of time. In Matthew 25 verse 31-46, Jesus speaks of the final judgment where the Son of Man will judge the nations, rewarding the righteous and condemning the wicked. The parallels between the Book of Enoch's prophecy and the New Testament teachings of Christ suggest that the ancient text contains deep spiritual truths that continue to speak to our generation. Finally, the Book of Enoch's focus on divine justice, the punishment of the Watchers and the Nephilim, the coming judgment of the world, and the eventual restoration of the righteous, is something that resonates strongly in a world that often seems to be filled with injustice. The idea that God's judgment will ultimately prevail, and that righteousness will be restored is a comforting and hopeful message in a time of political, social, and moral turmoil. The Book of Enoch reminds us that even when it seems as though evil is prevailing, God's ultimate plan will unfold, and his justice will be delivered. In a world where injustices often seem to go unpunished, the Book of Enoch serves as a powerful reminder that God is sovereign, and his judgment is sure. In conclusion, the Book of Enoch is not just an ancient text with historical value, it is a book that speaks directly to the modern world. Its warnings about the dangers of forbidden knowledge, its reflections on the corruption of humanity, and its prophecies of divine justice all continue to be relevant today. As we face the ethical dilemmas of the modern age, from genetic engineering to artificial intelligence, the Book of Enoch challenges us to reflect on the consequences of our pursuit of knowledge and the importance of seeking wisdom that aligns with God's will. In a world filled with uncertainty, the cosmic battle between good and evil, as depicted in the Book of Enoch, reminds us that the ultimate victory belongs to the righteous, and that God's justice will prevail in the end. The Book of Enoch, once excluded from the Bible, continues to hold a significant place in the study of ancient religious texts, offering profound insights into angels, divine justice, and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Though it was banned by the early church, its influence remains powerful, challenging modern Christians and seekers alike to reconsider the boundaries of sacred scripture and the mysteries of the heavenly realm. Throughout this journey, we've seen how the Book of Enoch expands on familiar biblical stories, most notably the account of the Watchers in Genesis 6 verse 1-4, but with startling details that push the limits of traditional theology. The story of angels descending to earth, imparting forbidden knowledge, and the birth of the Nephilim raises uncomfortable questions about the relationship between heaven and earth, divine wisdom, and the consequences of knowledge that comes outside of God's will. This story of rebellion, corruption, and eventual judgment offers a cosmic view of good and evil that we rarely encounter in such detail within the canonical texts of the Bible. The exclusion of the Book of Enoch begs us to reflect on what has been left out of the Christian tradition and why some ideas were deemed too radical for the Church. Was it the book's complex angelology, its apocalyptic prophecies, or its radically different portrayal of the Messiah and final judgment that led to its removal? Whatever the reason, the very act of excluding the Book of Enoch from the canon highlights the tension between mystery and doctrine, knowledge and faith. The Book of Enoch continues to challenge us today by raising fundamental questions about the pursuit of knowledge. Are there boundaries that humanity is not meant to cross in its search for truth? The Watchers taught humanity forbidden arts, and their actions ultimately led to disaster. This serves as a stark warning in our modern world, where scientific advancements, artificial intelligence and genetic engineering raise questions about how much knowledge we should possess. As we push the limits of human understanding, the Book of Enoch challenges us to consider whether we are risking the same kind of corruption and chaos brought about by the Watchers' rebellion. At the same time, the cosmic battle between good and evil, divine judgment, and the restoration of righteousness depicted in the Book of Enoch serves as a powerful reminder of God's ultimate sovereignty and justice. While the world today often seems plagued by injustice, the Book of Enoch assures us that God's justice will prevail in the end, and that the righteous will be vindicated. This is a message that resonates deeply in a world where evil often seems to go unpunished, reminding us that God's plan will unfold, regardless of the chaos around us. In the end, the Book of Enoch is not just an ancient banned text. It's a living document that still speaks to us today. Its vivid prophecies, rich imagery, and deep theological insights challenge us to broaden our understanding of the Bible, to explore the mysteries that lie beyond the known scriptures, and to reflect on how the pursuit of knowledge and divine wisdom intersect in our daily lives. Whether you view it as a divine revelation or a fascinating piece of ancient literature, the Book of Enoch offers a profound lens through which we can examine the nature of faith, knowledge, and the cosmic struggle between good and evil. As we move forward in our spiritual journeys, the lessons from the Book of Enoch should encourage us to seek wisdom with humility, to understand the limits of our understanding, and to trust in God's ultimate judgment and sovereignty over all creation. Even if it remains excluded from the Bible, its message continues to resonate with us, offering a deeper understanding of the divine mysteries and the responsibility we carry in our search for truth.